In the heart of the world's forests, a quiet battle for survival unfolds every day. Each creature, from the smallest insects to the largest mammals, must fight to maintain its place in a rapidly changing environment. The lush, dense canopy hides a complex web of life that is increasingly under threat. Encroachment and habitat loss. Encroachment and habitat loss are among the most pressing challenges facing wildlife today. As human activities expand, forests and other natural habitats are increasingly being cleared to make way for agriculture, urbanization, and infrastructure. This deforestation results in the direct loss of wildlife habitats, pushing many species closer to extinction. The natural sounds of the forest, once filled with the calls of birds and the rustling of leaves, are replaced by the harsh noises of bulldozers and chainsaws. This transformation creates a fragmented landscape where once thriving ecosystems are reduced to mere patches of green, isolated and unable to support the biodiversity they once did. The consequences of habitat fragmentation are severe. Animals that once roamed freely across large, continuous habitats now find themselves confined to small, isolated areas. This isolation reduces genetic diversity, making species more vulnerable to diseases and less adaptable to environmental changes. Additionally, fragmented habitats often lack the resources necessary for wildlife to survive, such as food, water, and shelter, further exacerbating the risk of extinction. Urbanization introduces other threats as well, such as pollution, light, and noise, which disrupt the natural behaviors of wildlife. Roads and buildings not only physically divide habitats but also pose direct dangers to animals, leading to increased mortality from vehicle collisions and human-wildlife conflicts. Invasive species, often introduced by human activities, can outcompete native species for resources, further stressing already fragile ecosystems. Addressing these challenges requires concerted efforts to protect and restore natural habitats. Conservation strategies, such as creating wildlife corridors and protected areas, can help mitigate the impacts of habitat fragmentation. Sustainable land use practices and policies that balance development with environmental preservation are crucial in ensuring that both human and wildlife populations can thrive. Only through such comprehensive and collaborative efforts can we hope to curb the tide of encroachment and habitat loss, safeguarding the planet's biodiversity for future generations. Resource scarcity. Resource scarcity is a critical issue arising from habitat destruction, profoundly affecting wildlife. As natural habitats are destroyed or fragmented by human activities such as deforestation, agriculture, and urbanization, animals face severe challenges in finding essential resources like food and water. This scarcity triggers intense competition among species, weakening their chances of survival and exacerbating their struggles. In a once thriving ecosystem, animals had ample territory to roam and access to abundant resources. However, as their habitats shrink, they are forced into confined spaces, competing for the same limited resources. This increased competition puts immense pressure on wildlife populations, leading to stress, malnutrition, and decreased reproductive success. The lack of adequate food and water sources not only weakens individual animals, but also makes entire populations more vulnerable to diseases and environmental changes. Moreover, resource scarcity disrupts the natural behaviors and life cycles of many species. For instance, predators may struggle to find prey, leading to starvation or conflicts with humans as they venture into human-inhabited areas in search of food. Herbivores, on the other hand, may overgraze the limited vegetation available, further degrading the habitat and reducing its capacity to support diverse wildlife. Additionally, the confinement of animals to smaller areas increases the likelihood of human-wildlife conflicts. As animals encroach upon human settlements in search of resources, they often come into conflict with people, resulting in negative outcomes for both wildlife and local communities. These conflicts can lead to the persecution of animals, further threatening their survival. Addressing resource scarcity requires a multifaceted approach. Conservation efforts must focus on preserving and restoring natural habitats to ensure that wildlife has access to the resources they need. Implementing sustainable land use practices, establishing protected areas, and promoting coexistence strategies between humans and wildlife are essential steps in mitigating the impacts of resource scarcity. By taking these measures, we can help ensure the survival of wildlife populations and maintain the delicate balance of our ecosystems. Poaching and illegal trade. Poaching and the illegal wildlife trade represent one of the most severe threats to global biodiversity, driven by the high demand for fur, ivory, and other animal body parts. This illicit practice pushes many species toward extinction. Iconic animals like elephants, rhinos, and tigers have seen drastic population declines due to poaching, with their parts fetching high prices in international markets. This demand not only endangers individual species, but also disrupts entire ecosystems. The lucrative nature of the illegal wildlife trade attracts organized crime syndicates, making enforcement and prevention efforts extremely challenging. These networks operate with sophistication, using advanced technology and corrupt practices to evade authorities. The consequences of their actions are devastating, with some species now critically endangered and teetering on the brink of extinction. Despite numerous international efforts to combat poaching and illegal trade, such as the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora (CITES), the problem persists. These initiatives have achieved some success, but enforcement remains inconsistent across regions. In many cases, inadequate resources, lack of political will, and corruption hinder effective implementation of anti-poaching measures. Furthermore, local communities, often impoverished and lacking economic opportunities, may rely on poaching as a source of income, complicating conservation efforts. Beyond the direct impact on wildlife populations, poaching has broader ecological consequences. The loss of key species disrupts food chains and alters habitat dynamics, leading to imbalances that affect other flora and fauna. For instance, the decline in predator populations like tigers and lions can result in overpopulation of prey species, which in turn affects vegetation and other animal communities. To effectively address poaching and the illegal wildlife trade, a multifaceted approach is essential. Strengthening international cooperation, enhancing law enforcement capabilities, and providing sustainable livelihoods for local communities are critical. Public awareness campaigns and reducing demand through stricter regulations and consumer education can also play significant roles in curbing this destructive practice. By taking comprehensive action, we can help protect endangered species and preserve global biodiversity. Climate change impacts. Climate change significantly exacerbates the challenges faced by wildlife. Increased temperatures, unpredictable weather patterns, and an increase in natural disasters such as wildfires and floods disrupt the delicate balance of forest ecosystems. These changes create harsh and rapidly evolving conditions that wildlife struggles to adapt to, leading to heightened risks of extinction for many species. One of the most immediate impacts of climate change is the alteration of habitats. Many species are highly adapted to specific climate conditions, and even slight changes can render their environments uninhabitable. For instance, polar bears rely on sea ice to hunt for seals, but as temperatures rise, this ice is melting, leaving polar bears with reduced hunting grounds and diminished food supplies. Similarly, coral reefs, which support a vast array of marine life, are experiencing bleaching events due to warmer ocean temperatures, threatening the survival of the entire reef ecosystem. Unpredictable weather patterns, such as irregular rainfall and prolonged droughts, further stress wildlife populations. Animals that rely on specific breeding seasons or migration patterns find these cycles disrupted, affecting reproduction and survival rates. For example, birds that migrate based on temperature cues may arrive at breeding grounds either too early or too late, missing the peak availability of food resources. Natural disasters, intensified by climate change, pose immediate threats to wildlife. Wildfires, which are becoming more frequent and severe, can devastate large areas of habitat, killing countless animals and displacing survivors. Floods, another growing concern, can wash away nests, burrows, and entire animal populations, leading to significant losses. The cumulative effects of these climate change impacts are pushing many species towards extinction. Conservation efforts must now consider climate resilience, implementing strategies to help wildlife adapt to changing conditions. This includes creating wildlife corridors to facilitate migration, protecting climate refugia, areas that remain stable amid climate shifts, and restoring habitats to enhance their resilience. Mitigating climate change through reducing greenhouse gas emissions and promoting sustainable practices is also crucial. By addressing both the causes and consequences of climate change, we can better safeguard wildlife and the ecosystems they depend on. Human-wildlife conflicts. Human-wildlife conflicts are becoming more frequent as natural habitats shrink, forcing wildlife to encroach into human settlements. These encounters can be perilous for both animals and humans, often resulting in injury or death. Farmers and villagers frequently find their crops damaged and livestock threatened by wildlife, while animals, in turn, are often killed in retaliation, further depleting their numbers. As deforestation and habitat fragmentation push wildlife closer to human populations, the likelihood of conflicts increases. Elephants, for example, may raid agricultural fields in search of food, destroying crops that are vital to local farmers' livelihoods. Similarly, predators like lions and leopards may prey on livestock, leading to significant economic losses for pastoral communities. These incidents provoke fear and anger among affected human populations, prompting them to take lethal measures against the animals involved. These conflicts not only result in the immediate loss of wildlife, but also contribute to a broader decline in biodiversity. Large mammals, which often roam vast territories, are particularly vulnerable. Retaliatory killings, along with other threats such as poaching, can quickly decimate local populations. Furthermore, the stress of living in close proximity to humans can alter animal behaviors, making them more aggressive or causing them to avoid essential resources, which impacts their health and reproductive success. Mitigating human-wildlife conflicts requires comprehensive strategies that address the needs of both wildlife and human communities. Developing and implementing non-lethal deterrents, such as electric fences or noise devices, can help protect crops and livestock without harming animals. Educating local communities about wildlife behavior and the importance of conservation can foster coexistence and reduce retaliatory killings. Additionally, creating and maintaining wildlife corridors can facilitate the safe movement of animals between habitats, reducing the chances of encounters with humans. Promoting sustainable land use practices that preserve natural habitats and buffer zones between wildlife and human settlements is also crucial. By taking these measures, we can reduce the frequency and severity of human-wildlife conflicts, ensuring the survival of wildlife populations while protecting the livelihoods and safety of human communities. Conservation efforts. Despite the many challenges facing wildlife, hope is not lost. Conservationists and researchers around the world are dedicated to protecting wildlife and preserving biodiversity. Through a combination of habitat restoration, anti-poaching efforts, and education, they strive to create a sustainable future for the inhabitants of our forests. Habitat restoration is a cornerstone of conservation efforts. Replanting trees, removing invasive species, and rehabilitating degraded landscapes help to recreate environments where wildlife can thrive. Restoring these habitats not only provides food and shelter for animals, but also supports entire ecosystems, promoting biodiversity and ecological balance. Anti-poaching initiatives are vital in protecting endangered species from the illegal wildlife trade. Conservation organizations work with local and international law enforcement agencies to monitor and combat poaching activities. These efforts include deploying advanced technologies like drones and camera traps, as well as training and equipping rangers to patrol protected areas. By targeting poachers and disrupting trafficking networks, these initiatives aim to reduce the illegal hunting of threatened species. Education and community engagement are also critical components of conservation strategies. Raising awareness about the importance of wildlife and the threats they face helps to garner public support for conservation measures. Engaging local communities, who often live in close proximity to wildlife, is especially important. By involving them in conservation projects and providing alternative livelihoods, such as ecotourism or sustainable agriculture, conservationists can reduce human-wildlife conflicts and ensure that local people benefit from preserving their natural heritage. Initiatives like wildlife corridors and protected areas play a crucial role in ensuring the survival of diverse species. Wildlife corridors allow animals to move safely between fragmented habitats, promoting genetic diversity and resilience. Protected areas provide safe havens where wildlife can live and reproduce without the immediate threats of habitat destruction and human interference. Through these combined efforts, conservationists and researchers are making significant strides in mitigating threats to wildlife. While challenges remain, the dedication and innovative approaches of those working to protect our natural world offer a promising path toward a more sustainable and biodiverse future. Join us in standing up for wildlife and forests everywhere. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you for watching, and remember, the future of our forests depends on all of us.